How's everybody doing? Great! Wow, I am so excited to be here. And this building holds a very special place for me. I don't know if you know that. Maybe I'll just start. Do you mind? I'll give you a little bit of history on where you're all sitting. And I want to welcome my old buddy and executive, Brett Nielsen, who was with our company for, how long, 25 years, and then he dumped me about 6 months ago because he got a massive job offer and well earned. Good to see you, Brett. This is the first project from the ground up that I ever built, is where you're sitting at. 333 South La Cienega. And the size of my company back at that time was me and one other person named Laura Phelps, who was my executive assistant when I was a lawyer. And if you would have asked me, how much do you know about building a building or development, I would have said, I have no clue. But this is where I started. And it also holds a great piece of history for me because there's a mural. When you walk out, you'll see it if you go up to the right. And I had a rule, which I still have, that I always put something in every project I built to celebrate my family, my wife and my kids. When I built this building, Tina and I had just 2 children at the time. We have 4 now, Alex and Gregory. And so when you look at it up there, there's little martini glasses with their initials in it. When you go to the Grove, those little statues near the park, those are my kids at the Grove. So anyway, there's a whole bunch of little secrets, but it's great being back in this building. The other thing about this building is we have this approved to do high-rise residential with the support of the community, by the way. And we were very excited to start it. And I hate to tell you, before I decided to run for mayor, we put the project on hold because I didn't know if I wanted to invest the money in this great city that I love, given the direction it was heading. And it was really heartbreaking to even think about that, because I started my company in Los Angeles. I started my family in Los Angeles, my 4 kids, and Tina and I still live in Los Angeles. We've been together 37 years. But, you know, I was seeing crime rising, the homelessness was getting worse. I really did feel that the system was broken and not serving the people. And I really did feel that corruption had taken over City Hall. And the reasons we were having the problems we were having is because not only was the system broken, but there was so much corruption. And then what happened a couple of days ago? The doors flew open and a big bright light came in and exposed 4 people carving up the city like it was their own personal property. And in the process, the vile comments of hatred and disrespect that hit almost every ethnicity. It was amazing to me. But I hate to say it, it didn't surprise me. Because when I first announced I was running for office, if you remember, back in late February, I said, there's 3 main problems I'm going to focus on: homelessness, crime, and corruption. And I got called out by Karen Bass at the first debate, criticizing career politicians that are just in it for themselves. If you remember, she said, that's not fair. And I said, no, it is fair. I go to the old Jeffersonian rule. Go serve your country, go serve your city, go serve your state, and then go home. Exactly. Right? And that's my plan on this. I'm not looking for a career change. I want to go serve the city that I love. I want to help it the best way I can, and then I want to go back home. I'm not looking for another job. I'm not looking for a higher office. I have been blessed and fortunate beyond my wildest dreams. But I do think about my grandparents, both sides, that immigrated here. They didn't know the language. They didn't have $1 in their pocket, literally, like so many of the people that have come to this country. But they did have one thing. They had a big dream. They had a big dream in America, and they had a big dream that LA could make their dreams come true. And they landed in Boyle Heights in a little 2-bedroom apartment for my grandparents and their 3 boys. Obviously, one was my dad. And my grandfather was a gardener. And I grew up sitting in that truck, and it was through that windshield I learned about Los Angeles. Because we went on rides with him, went to the homes that he was taking care of. And I also learned from my grandparents and my parents that you have simple priorities in life. Don't let your life get too complicated. And it was faith, family, and community. And no matter how modest they were, and believe me, my grandparents were dearly modest, there was always room at the table. I remember neighbors would come over. There was always somebody that needed a little bit of extra help. And that's what I want to do. I have been really lucky. Well, first of all, their American dream came true. Their 3 boys grew up in Los Angeles. One became a priest. My father got into business. My uncle worked for my dad in business together. I was the first person to get a college education in my family. I remember my grandmother, who was about this tall, just crying because that was part of her dream, right? It's like so many of us, what we care about is our kids, the next generation. We'll sacrifice for you. And believe me, I never thought I had big dreams that I would accomplish what I've accomplished in my life. But I've always believed I have to give back. And my kids are doing the same thing. And my wife believes the same thing. So I worked for Tom Bradley. I understand how a city department works. I worked for Dick Reardon for $1 a year. Same salary I'm gonna take as mayor. I'm not even gonna get a bonus. And I worked for Jim Hahn for $1 a year as the president of the police commission. I understand how city government works. I understand how it fails. Karen Bass has never worked for the city of Los Angeles. She's represented the city of Los Angeles. And while she's represented the city of Los Angeles, homelessness has increased 80%. So how does she have all the answers now? When did that hit? And why haven't you done anything before? And I just want to go back on crime because I think, and I disagree with Karen, she opened up the debate the other night by saying all Angelenos feel safe. If you don't think she said that, rewind it. That's exactly her words. I have never met anybody. I have been all over this city. This morning I started in Chatsworth. I'm working my way down. I'm going to end up in San Pedro. I guarantee you I will not meet one person that says, I feel safe or I'm not worried about crime. When Jim Hahn asked me to take over the police commission, we were in a terrible state. More officers were leaving the department than arriving. Crime was at an all-time high. It was just after the Rodney King beating. The department was being run by a federal judge. It was a tough job. I came in and I had to do something that was very tough but right, was to fire a very popular chief of police that the establishment wanted to keep. And let me tell you how much they wanted him to stay. As we were going through the hearings on whether or not to retain him or not, I was building the Grove. They would march on the Grove and shut the job down to put pressure on me. They would light me in effigy outside of City Hall. Seriously. And my poor dear wife would call saying, you're on fire again. And I would say, I'll be home for dinner, don't worry about it. And I called Jimmy Hahn and I said, Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna do what's right for the city. It may not be easy or politically correct, but we've got to make a change. If you don't like that, I'll step down. And to Jim Hahn's credit, he said, just do what you think is right. And we did, and we brought in Bill Bratton. And that was the game changer. Leadership matters. It matters in the mayor's office, in the chief of police, it just matters. Built a new team around him. What happened? Dropped crime by 30%, not seen since 1950. Hired 800 officers, brought in community policing. We changed the department from a majority white male department to a majority minority department, because the department needs to reflect the community it serves. Build trust, put senior lead officers on the street, reform the department, and the federal courts gave it back to civilian control. And you know what? We spent endless days in the community just making sure that we could hear people, we were listening and being responsive, and had zero tolerance for any misbehavior of an officer. We can do it again. I've done it before. I can build the right team. We can get crime down. We can make our community safe. I joke around that the other night, we were on our way out and my wife's taking her earrings off, her wedding ring was coming off. I thought she was leaving me. I said, what the heck? And she says, I do not go out now with my wedding ring on. This is the second largest city in America. And that's the way we're living now, is looking over our shoulder, worrying about our kids going to school and playing in a park. We've got 44,000 people that are going to go to sleep tonight on the streets, living in their own waste. 5 will die on Skid Row alone today. 5, just in that part of town. Karen Bass said she'll raise taxes. Did you hear that the other night?
We did.
She would not take the pledge. She said, well, I'll raise taxes if people are dying. I'll do what I have to do. Breaking news, they're already dying. Breaking news. We don't need to raise taxes. We're spending $1 billion a year on homelessness, and the problem gets worse. It's your money. It's my money, your money. We got to stop wasting money. We do not need more money. We need more courage. We need more courage. We need more determination. We need more will. We need to just do what's right. Tonight, 13,000 women go to sleep on the streets. 13,000 women. It's terrible what's going on. You go to organizations, if you don't think this problem can be cured, I would take you down to the Downtown Women's Center. I would take you to People's Concern. I would take you to Weingarten. I would take you to Goodwill. And what they're doing reflects my plan. We did a lot of research around the country on what works. You get them off the street. You bring them in. You meet them where they are, with dignity and humanity. They're human beings. It's humane the way we're having them live right now. Yes. And once they're in a bed and they're cared for, you start introducing services. Downtown, People's Concern, their success rate of not going back to homelessness, 94%. I'll take 94%. What is their biggest problem? It's taken them 6 years to get a permit to build more housing on Skid Row. Isn't that crazy? The complication should be the services, not the brick and mortar. Well, I know how to build. I know how to process permits. I know how tough it is to process permits. So I also know how to fix it. And we're going to start getting affordable units built in this city. So not only we can house the homeless and give them the treatment they need, but bring down the affordability in this city. So families throughout this city can buy or rent, so we can bring businesses in, so we can grow our economy. You can't bring businesses in when their employees can't afford to live here. Our cops should not have to drive 2 hours to go to work. Our firemen should not have to drive 2 hours to go to work. And our teachers shouldn't have to drive 2 hours to go to work, right? Right. We need to build affordable housing. I know how to do it. Karen says you never built affordable housing. Okay, another breaking news. It was never my business, but it will be as mayor. But I also said back to her, you've never introduced a bill in 20 years to build more housing. You never introduced a bill in 20 years to reduce crime. You never introduced a bill in 20 years to reduce homelessness. She's after a job, I get it. Yeah. But she's part of this broken system, and I tell you, our city is at a crossroads like I've never seen it. So I want to work really hard for you. And I love this city to death. I want to see this city clean, the graffiti removed, the sidewalks clean. I want to see homeless have a better path to life, right? I want to see our kids safe. I want to hand the keys of the city over to everybody's kids and say, go run with it now. There's so many things we need to do. Support small businesses. 90% of our businesses are small businesses. They're overregulated. They're overtaxed, right? And now that you've got inflation, they're squeezed. I think about my grandfather as a gardener, and there's so many people that are in the landscaping or the gardening business. Now you have to fill up your truck, and it's $7 a gallon. You also have to put food on the table that's more expensive. You also have to pay your rent that's more expensive. We got to reduce the cost of doing business in the city. I'll close with this and then we'll go into questions. I know I get accused or criticized for spending a lot of money on this campaign. And I have. It is a lot of money. I've earned every dollar of it. And I didn't expect applause for that. But my oldest son the other day when he was being interviewed, and the family, God bless them, are all into this, said to a reporter, he said, I know my dad really well. He works really hard for his money, and he's really careful how he spends it. And if he's spending this kind of money, that means he really believes in the future of the city, and I really do. But the other great thing that comes with that is, I'm not beholden to anybody. I'm not beholden to a Washington guy. Right? I get to wake up every single morning and say, I'm just going to do what's in the best interest of Los Angeles, the best interest of the residents. And if you do that, great things are going to happen. It's no different how we all run our lives. We all wake up and say, let's just do what's right today. So that's what I'm going to do for you. I should say one other thing, because I know the negative ads are coming soon. They're going to be blasting me. I never supported Donald Trump. I never gave Donald Trump a dime. I criticized him publicly. You can Google it when he announced that I didn't think he was the right person to be president. Some of you may think he was, and that's fine. That was just my opinion, right? I have never given a dime for any anti-abortion cause. That's why they can't put any of those checks up there. There are none. They conflate being a Catholic with being anti-choice, and that's just wrong. It's unfair to do that. Joe Biden is Catholic. Nancy Pelosi is Catholic. My buddy Jerry Brown is Catholic. All pro-choice. I'm pro-choice. So let's just dispose of those issues, not get wedded down in identity politics, which Karen would like to do, because she has a tough time talking about the issues and her track record. So she doesn't want to talk about it. But what I want to talk about is hearing what you need in your community, and then I want to go to work for you. And then I really need your help. We are dead heat. Every vote is going to count. I need you to get your friends, your family, call 10 friends, have everybody call 10 friends. We have an app. Where's my buddy Vince?
I'm back here, boss.
Okay. The guy that just got a great haircut standing in the back. We have an app. It's called?
It's Rick Caruso for mayor.
Okay.
It's an app in the app. You know what? I could just airdrop it to you guys right now.
It's a really cool app, and what it does is, we don't get access to anything on your phone, believe me. It takes your contacts and it picks out who is a registered voter in LA, and then you can send direct messages out to people who are registered voters, and it gives you messaging. If you want to use it, you just create your own. It's a pretty cool deal. If it's not that, it really is calling all your friends. We've got friends doing vino and voting parties that are having people come over and vote, and then walking to the post office or walking to the mailbox together to symbolize we're taking our city back. This is all about giving power back to the neighborhoods and the communities. So God bless you. I'd love to answer any questions you have.